Hello and welcome to episode 361 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. I'm Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the creator of the webcomic Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And he was the inspiration behind the smash hit single, Blame It on the Boogie. It's Tony Esmond.
I was all prepared for you to mention me having me in the bath then, literally.
No.
On the drive this morning, I was thinking, he's definitely mentioned in the bath. We may reveal that later in the show.
Yeah.
You may reveal that.
Stay tuned, listener.
Or maybe I'll wait until the right time to destroy Tony's career.
What career?
Yeah.
There'll be a long, drawn-out court case that people will be able to watch on TV and be obsessed about for weeks on end. But no, it's us three this week. A bit of comics talk. We've been out and about. Yes, fresh air. I'm not used to it, and I'm a bit tired. So
we were going to have Tom on, but he's been on a couple of shows now. He's going up in the charts, and I won't bother this week. He said, "Yeah." No, he can't make it. But we would have had him on.
They said they always say go outside and touch grass, don't they? That's the phrase.
Touch cloth.
Who says that?
Who says they say that? If you're too long on the internet, they go, you should go outside and touch some grass. I mean, I literally did that because I took up the lawn.
All right, don't large it. DIY. We've seen the pictures.
Right. Fuck it. Mate, that was fucking back-breaking labour.
Calm down, Charlie Dimmock. Anyway.
Where was it? We were in, Vince, yesterday as we walked out. I said, and I had a poo. And you went, you just said it so those people by the door heard you, didn't you?
I tell you what it was. It was as we were exiting the comic art exhibition of an event.
Which is quite quiet in there, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was classy. It was reserved. It was where all the nice people hang out. And you just dropped that clanger. I don't think we actually went back into that room again.
Couldn't we?
No. But I tell you what we can do. We can talk about our lovely sponsors, Comic House.
We can.
Yes.
The lovely folks at Comic House who love indie comics just as much as we do. That's why they're different to everyone else. There's a huge selection of titles on the Comic House database. If you self-publish, you can list your books on there. It's another avenue to get your books out to the world. Plus, you can also put digital copies of your books, because everyone has them now. It's a must, let's be honest. But you can put them on the Comic House app and start making extra pennies, dollars. I don't know any other types of currency.
Rubles. No, you can't make rubles.
but because people will be able to read your comics on Comic House, and it's well worth it. We've all got stuff
all around the world.
Yeah.
And I can't find my baby, but I can certainly find some amazing comics on the Comic House app. What's on there at the moment, Dan?
That's terrible, by the way.
By Simon Spurrier and Ryan Kelly. We've got Cry Havoc. Maybe followed up by Let Slip the Dogs of War.
Okay, is that the sequel?
I'm just throwing that title out there. That's not.
It's a freebie to them. You can have that.
You can have that sigh.
Put some dogs in it.
We've got Peace of Mind for Fraser, Correa, and Jones. And we've also got another Cry Havoc, issue 5. There we go. And Mandy the Monster Hunter. There you go.
I met them at Portsmouth.
A whole load more. We've got all our titles on there. Many of the titles we've recommended and reviewed can be found in there too.
Did you read that comic they did about the OnlyFans lady? Have you read that yet?
I have not read that. Have you read it?
I haven't yet. It's in my pile. I haven't read it. I'm a bit scared.
Brilliant. Yeah. No,
I'm scared.
I look forward to that. Go wait till the
She did scare me.
Well,
we were quite frightened.
I'll tell you what, Tony. While you're building up the courage to read that one, why don't you just go to comichouse.com.
So professional.
Check out a 14-day free trial and dive headfirst into the world of small press that we talk about every week.
I love it when you say head first. You always say every week.
Although, if you go jump in the deep end of the pool, do you do it head first? No, that's meant.
I bomb. I usually do a bomb.
What about you, Dan? How do you dive?
Or you slip into the water like an otter off the bank.
On your bum.
That is a creepy visual, man. Just seeing you lowering yourself down to the side of a pool like a fucking salamander.
I just sort of visualise him. It's night. He's got his night scope on.
Face first. I just drag myself along the side and then sort of slip in.
You do don't let go of the side, don't let go of the side, don't pull me off, don't pull me.
Don't what?
What?
Anyway.
I got kicked out for that.
No heavy betting in the pool.
Oh dear.
All that a wank in the swimming pool, aren't we?
Ignore him. Anyway, yes, it's going to be that kind of show this week. But I tell you, before we get into like the events and stuff that we've been out and about this weekend, back to the Hellbound Media guys. They are a real example of like really pounding the pavement in terms of like just doing loads of different events. I think they were at was it Liverpool Tattoo Convention or something like that? They were at.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And it's
I bought Giallo off them and had a good conversation about Giallo movies when I saw them, which was good.
Yeah. I read in one of the Facebook groups, I think it's the UK comic lot, one of the guys went to a book fair to sell his comic and fucking did really well.
All right.
Like you guys have said before, or at least one of our guests, go into these venues that are not solely comic focused.
Yeah.
And
that's what we did, the Satanists. Yeah.
Yeah, and what was it now that you you had some time from it, what was your sort of thoughts of that sort of, not the event itself, but that experience of being comics in an uncomic world?
It was all right, man. I think because we would literally introduce ourselves to people because as we were setting up, we went and said loads of people. So we said, "Oh, we're the comic guys." We're doing comics. Oh, yeah, they're the comic guys down there. And it is easier to sell them that way.
Yeah.
And we got obviously Adam has a book called Satan's Library, so that was an easy given, with the pentagram on the front of it and stuff. But we got a lot of footfall at the table, a lot of chatting at the table, and it was okay. Probably did better at that one when he'd done a lot of conventions.
These comics are still seen as, at least in this country, they can be quite subversive.
Yes, and we are, aren't we? So I think, a little bit underground.
You'd be given not given a pass, but you'd be like, they belong here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things we could get away with an underground vibe to a comic. You could probably do a record fair. You could do a music festival. There's lots of stuff you could do. You couldn't do it if you were just selling Marvel, maybe, or if you just had a very sort of, I don't know, some sort of unicorn comic or some sort of very dour auto-bio comic. But I think if you've got that sort of fanzine fanzine underground kind of vibe to it, I think you could probably do a lot of stuff.
I think you might do like if you had a horror title, depending on the Satanist one.
Yeah. I do.
Well, Des did the horror cons, doesn't he? Des was when he does sci-fi and horror conventions. He likes them.
The crossover crowd has got to be fucking massive.
Yeah. And you need to sort of focus in on that sort of those niches. Yeah, exactly. I do wonder about like when people do like craft fairs or something like that. How it doesn't seem like it would be the audience for it, but
I think it depends on your product. I think Al Henderson does quite well because he's got like badges and artwork and strip books and stuff like that. And I think his
he's
stuff
got a
fits
wide
in
range of product. Al Henderson.
Yeah. But I think that stuff would do better than, say, for example, all due respect to it, and I love it, but Vanguard maybe. I suppose.
Yeah.
Or my stuff.
Yeah.
Craft. Somebody selling doilies and me going, look at this cock. It's not really.
Yeah. You can't turn up with like an independent superhero or horror comic at like a craft fair and then be really sort of bummed that you didn't do very well. Do you know what I mean? It's
last time I went to a fucking craft fair, like there's always someone selling homemade jams. And like he had like a biscuit.
Here we go. Go on, Dan.
It was
about to get dirty.
Yeah.
He had like two blue plasters on the end of his finger, and he gave me the thing with the cracker. And try that. And I was like, fuck's sake. I don't know where this fucking plasters have been. And I was like, okay. I was like, oh yeah, it's really good.
Well, that's people in catering. Here's an interesting fact for you: wear blue plasters because there's very little blue food in case the plaster falls off.
You
can see it. Yeah. What was the cracker like? Was it nice? Did you wake up later?
There was the jam on it.
What kind of jam was it?
I think it was a strawberry and something.
I'm a fan of jams.
Yeah, can't go.
One of my favourite things to do in life is sing the song Black Betty, but then change the lyrics to Bramble Jam.
Yes.
Anyway,
that's what it's like in the country. Anyway, you took the piss out of me. I was telling you some beautiful story about seeing a deer when I was out on a run, and you went, "Oh, city people ain't seen no animals, have they?" Like that.
It's so rare that I get to be on that side.
Yeah.
Normally it's like, whatever you carrot, and you're just bullying me all the time.
Or a junkie, like that.
We're very nice to each other in real life, by the way.
Yes, we are. We did have a chuckle. It was funny. Yeah.
But I know, back to like the
Yes.
comics events and stuff. I am like, and I see like a lot of the like people who have been on this show or past guests or people we know, you know, whether it be on social media or Instagram and stuff. Usually on Instagram, because people are posting like, "Oh, here I am set up at this event." And it always fascinates me when they're like at a local place, you know, little zine fair or
I like
craft
that.
fair. Yeah, I love seeing that.
Anywhere where there's a lack of competition, you've got to be off for a winner.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. And certainly we're definitely interested to know how well you do at these events. So
not because we're all going to go there and do it. It's just
No. So get in touch with us and let us know how you do, because it's easy enough for us to sort of say, well, our craft fair, you're not going to do very well with comics at that, but we have no experience.
It's the local county fair to where I live as well, which I was quite interested in, because I live just north of London, so it's Hertfordshire where I am.
Yeah,
and they've got at the end of my road is the county fair, and I was actually driving back this morning thinking, I wonder whether that would be any good. You know, comics made in, you know, because we're both from the county.
Maybe
run tribute. I wonder whether they
might go well.
Get in there. But then you know, it's like all these blokes in their fucking loafers and walking sticks, and us. You know what we're like, our comics.
Well, you get that, or you kind of get families out for the day, so it's not for maybe not the crowd, but it's always worth a punt.
I like it. I'm a fan of a gilf. Do you know what I mean? So,
but I said I think stuff like the venues, the Satanist one, that's a good shout.
Yeah, I think so. Like a metal gig or something like that. Here's another one for you. Erotica. Yeah. Now, I used to be in an office that was next to Earl's Court, and it was there, and that's full of fucking freaky leather people, you know, and tattooists and all that sort of thing. Sex people.
To any of our freaky leather people listeners, we mean no offense.
Yeah. I mean, you'd see some fucking sights of your table in there, surely.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine I don't know what goes on inside it, but I like to imagine what goes on inside it.
In the show, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was low hanging fruit. So. But
oh dear.
Yeah, you must be some fucking you must see some sights. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, maybe if you sold erotic comics or something like that at that kind of show, I reckon you'd do all right.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to polybag it and sort of say, look, no, you don't open it.
I mean, someone like
use a line from
white free.
Use the line from 8mm. So you pay before you pump.
Yeah. Someone like Jen Yilblad's going to clean up.
Yeah, she'd do all right there, wouldn't she?
Yeah. So get in touch if you do any of these kinds of shows.
If you go to a sex convention, get in touch.
Yeah, please do.
Selling comic books, essentially selling comic books at a venue that isn't comics orientated. That's quite fascinating.
That's the rub.
Yeah, but there was a comics event that was sort of comics orientated. That me and Tony and the wonderful Tom Curry came.
Yeah, he joined us, didn't he?
Yeah, he joined us.
Other people, but yeah. Harris turned up, didn't she?
Yeah.
Sarah Harris came down.
We were at Lawless, which took place on the Saturday and Sunday of this past weekend. As we're talking, it's the 29th, so it's 28th and 29th in Bristol. We only popped over for the Saturday to meet up, have a cuddle, and wander around and see some comic art. Thoroughly.
Quite a romantic meeting when I was waiting for you and wave. I did that. Do you remember when you pulled in on the train down near my house and I did that wave from the car park from a distance?
Yeah.
Like in a rom-com. I did the same one.
Live forever in my memories.
Yeah, I did the same one as Vince was walking. I rang Vince and something up with his phone. He had like this on his phone.
You were calling me on WhatsApp.
Why are you calling me on WhatsApp?
Why are you calling me on WhatsApp?
I'm a millennial.
Don't do my voice if you can't do my voice.
He said, he said, I'm having the worst day. I've had to download an app to park my car. So I thought, I'm go
hold on, right. I tell you what, you need to come with a fucking some sort of warning, because I did not say I'm having the worst day.
That's
I said like. I've just got here and I'm just sorting out my parking. I've got to download an app, and you were like,
you may have sworn.
That's what you were like on the phone.
And then as he came out of the car park, he was like, face like thunder, Dan. Really.
Nah.
And I was doing that wave from down the road, all the way down the road. There was other people walking towards me, who were looking at me.
You went all the way
down
the road. You were across the street.
Is he waving at me? And so I continued it for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
as he walked towards me.
And then when I saw him, I started running in slow motion towards him.
Yeah.
Until we met up in unison. So it's a thin line between love and hate.
Yeah. Pleasure and pain.
Yeah. But then we immediately rocked up, got our press passes, so we felt self-important. And
didn't have to queue up because we're large in it. Yeah. We got a free bag of stuff though, didn't we? Who was the lady who gave us the free bag?
Iz McAuliffe was there. Stacey Whittle.
Yeah, it's Stacey. That's right. And Iz was
Stacey,
there, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
Iz wasn't there when I got my pass. I don't know where she was.
I was having a proper catch up with her, and I was halfway through catching up with her, and then they opened the doors fully, so I left them to
Oh, that's right.
Because Saturday was sold out, and there was a real buzz. There was loads.
There's a long line to get in, wasn't there?
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah. And a fun day was had. Like there was loads of it's a 2000 AD show, isn't it? I know there's some small press, and stuff like there was a room.
British comics, isn't it?
Yeah, British comics, but there was a lot of Brian Boland was there. I didn't even stop at his table because he seemed to be so busy when
Yeah, he was. John Wagner, I said hello to downstairs.
Yeah.
Dan Cornwall, he was a good company. I had a good chat with him a couple of times. He's doing me a Hammerstein, actually, which he's going to post to me.
Nice.
Right. Seriously, listeners, if you see Dan Cornwall at a convention, literally bite his arm off for an original page of artwork because it's lovely stuff and it's cheap.
Some amazing pages are like 50 quid.
What was he selling? Rock of the Reds?
And some Dread.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was there Rock of the Reds? I'm not sure if there's Rock of the
Yeah,
Reds.
there was loads. Yeah, that's what Eamon bought. He bought a Rock of the Reds.
Oh, yeah,
page.
because there was some football, some football pages and stuff
Yeah,
in there. And he told us a story about how, what was the story he did for Dread?
Citadel. He sold a whole story to one dealer, didn't he? To one buyer.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. That's good. So that's why I think these people are not stupid, these people who buy. They know people who are going places. And I think the thing is with him is, to me, may not be to everyone, but I think he's the best artist in 2000D pretty much at the moment. He's one of the best storytellers, definitely. And I think people are seeing that because almost to me, he feels like the new Carlos in a way. God bless Carlos. But,
wow, that's high praise.
Wow.
And I think people see that. And I don't think it'll be long before someone snaps him up in the States.
There is a real sort of classic feel to his artwork mixed with the modern sort of widescreen dynamics that comes.
And there's never a bit of half-arsing by him.
Jesus Christ, some of the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like I was looking through some of the original pages and I stopped at a page that was essentially a splash page of just a top-down shot of a football stadium. A football stadium? Me? I don't give a shit about that. But I was looking at this page thinking, fucking hell, look at the architecture on that.
Yeah. And his head sketches are only 20 quid.
Yeah.
He's good, and he's been on the show, and we're a fan of his, and he's our buddy, and we had a chuckle with him, and it's always good to see him. He was a high point. Who else did you speak to, dude? Tabling. Dave Broughton was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, Dave Broughton.
I didn't get long enough with Dave. I just sort of said hello to him, and then I was chatting to someone else, but you had a long chat.
Yeah, I had a good old long chat with him. I picked up the Shaman Kane issue 7 from him.
Okay, cool.
Got a bit of insider scoop on what's to come for Shaman. Well, I mean, the work in progress. Saw some pages. 8 is pretty much almost completely done. He started on 9. He's just an absolute beast, that man. And Shaman...
Dave's a solid, good storyteller. He does good comics, and he does them continuously without fucking shouting his mouth off. He is just a great creator. I think he's one of the sort of the big small pressers who I think of.
And he has like a character, like an actual sort of.
And he's a great colorist, right? He really knows how to lay color down, which I really like.
He's an absolute workworkhorse, man. Does it.
Yeah. And he was telling me obviously with Shaman Kane, I mean, 7 is a one shot sort of one and done. You don't need to read anything else to read it. And I was like, oh right, cool. I'll pick that up. I'm going to read that after we finish this show, actually. But he was saying there's a 12-issue arc planned stuff, and then he'll get the issues out, and then probably there'll be an omnibus in the future. But
I'll have to get that.
And he says at the
that'd be good. Nice
at the sort of planning he's got. Obviously, life can obviously sort of get in the way and stuff, but it's always good to make the plans, isn't it? And sort of set your deadlines, which is clear Dave has. Says in the next probably year and a half he'll have 12 done.
Yeah,
That's mental.
I'm glad because he's another one of those artists like Dan Cornwall. I've got like we did that bootleg Silver Surfer comic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got the art from that.
Yeah.
So that's
great.
in a bag. Do you know what I mean? That's hoarded.
Yeah.
You know.
So definitely,
There's a couple
follow,
of names.
Go on.
Go on. I said there's a couple of names in small press that sort of keep your eye on and think, I don't understand why these guys are not fucking all
Ashcroft.
over. Yeah,
Ashcroft's one. Gareth Slightholme.
Gustavo.
Slightholme. Yeah.
Absolute.
Imba.
And
Imba's kind of doing really well now. So
and every one of them lovely people as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
all but one.
Yeah,
no, they're all nice.
Yeah.
Who
is the one? Yeah, but no, follow him on Facebook at DaveBust1966 and Instagram DaveBust1966 to find out more. Cause...
I think he does the YouTube drawings as well.
Yeah,
sets up a camera and goes away.
I'll tell you who was close to him was Warwick Fraser-Coombe, who we were also fans of.
Yeah.
And we did have a chuckle with him over his comic, which is called Skullfucker.
Which is great stuff. Although he had a wonderful, I think it was an A2 print of a comic cover he did that was front and center on the billboards of Times Square when New York Comic Con.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of the company he worked for, but they sent him a picture saying, "Oh, by the way, do you know they're using our cover as your cover from our comic as publicity for the New York Comic Con?" He said it was in Times Square. How good is that?
Fuck, that's great.
Yeah.
What is the name of that comic? Because I did see that cover and just think it's the sort of cover that makes you want to buy the comic.
He is doing some great work as well, and I said to him, "I'm glad you're about because there's that. It's not necessarily nihilistic, but there's a darkness to his work that isn't, is a counterpoint to a lot of the crap we see in, small press and indie books.
Yeah.
He knows how to craft a long-term story with, foreshadowing and stuff. And I really like what he's doing. There's a creepiness to what he does.
Yeah.
And he's got another 2 books.
That was the name.
That's it. Yeah. No, he's good as well. Some other people we met. Hello to Rob Hardingham, who's on the Slack, and I met Rob at Strange Apparitions. In fact, he had a Strange Apparitions t-shirt on, didn't he?
It was great catching him.
Yeah, that was good. And he sort of we chatted to him a couple of times. Good company, and he had a little story for us, which we can't talk about yet. But I've made him promise he'll give me first dibs on it. The one about the trip he was making?
Yeah.
Rich Sheaf. It was always good to see the Don in it.
Oh yeah,
his Waitrose bag made me laugh. Here he is, middle class Rich, and I got a Waitrose bag, and he was laughing. That was good. It's only a shame that we didn't see Rich before we went into that exhibition, Vince, because he's a master of all that stuff.
Oh yeah, completely.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Eamon was there. Eamon Clark. I had a good chuckle with him quite a few times. And his buddy Conrad Layden, who does Space Spinner. So Eamon does the Mega City Book Club, and Space Spinner is Conrad's podcast. So we had a good chat with them. Who else, man?
There was a couple of people who saw us.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Who was
Doug Wilson. Go to bandofone.co.uk. Saw us that. There's one of the freebies that came in the goodie bag was like a 1-page strip called Jack Astro by Doug Wilson. Definitely check out his stuff.
Do you know what? I think we said hello to him.
I didn't know at the very beginning when we were doing the initial round, wasn't it? Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we should have. If I don't know, because he's on the Slack, so that's fine. I know it's him.
Hello,
Luke
Doug,
Aldridge,
and we're sorry.
Hello, Doug. Yeah, we're sorry, mate. And Luke Aldridge, who said I was deep in conversation with someone. And I said, fuck me, you should have interrupted because all I do is speak shit.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a chance to chat to him, but hopefully we'll catch up soon with him. So I had a chat with him on the DMs today. So he was there.
Yeah.
Although Harris turned up. So Sarah turned up and we went for a bit of lunch, didn't we? But she didn't properly come in.
Yeah.
She was at Upfest, which was going on elsewhere.
Mm. And as Eamon was there from Mega City Book Club, obviously, and with the work he's doing in terms of editing, you may hear more. You may hear more from him in the next couple of months. I told him you're coming on the show. By the way, you know that, do you?
Yeah. My story as of today is done for that. I was quite pleased. So Helena sent me the art and letters through today, and I'm really pleased. I was actually a little bit verklempt, as is the phrase.
What the hell's that?
Yeah. A bit of mosh.
Someone's clamped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, me ver. I was a bit emotional over how good it was. I was really impressed. She's not really shared. She said the odd thing with me, but not the whole thing. And I think she's done brilliant.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, I was very pleased.
Yeah. So stay tuned to find out more about that soon.
Yeah. So I've got DUI 2 on the way. It's about halfway, I think, isn't it? I always say to him, it's about halfway. People are sort of beavering away.
Also, you got your one done. The
Oh yeah,
Plaza the Princes.
We'll get into
that
we'll talk about that in a sec because that came together quite quickly and quite nicely and very sexily.
Thank you.
Anyway,
down to you. So back to the con. So the other thing we should probably talk about is the sort of layout of it. Also, people who are going next year should know. So it's sort of one half of the mezzanine restaurant floor of the Two Trees. It's called Double Trees, isn't it? It's called in Bristol.
Yeah.
Was one main room which had all the guests in.
Yeah.
There was a smaller room that was a bit more small pressy.
Yeah.
And had a couple of sort of people selling badges and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was an exhibition room, which is I think probably the one that we enjoyed the most, wasn't it, Vince?
I walked in there and I just loved it. Nice. I think they were doing some photo shoots at some point in there as well.
That's right.
But there was like sort of, it wasn't a huge exhibition, but there was like a few sort of like a couple of walls that were filled with like classic comic book pages,
Thunderbirds,
from the collection
of
and forgive me for because I know some people knew the guy whose collection it was, and he was the one that was talking to us about that one comic.
He came over and we had a lovely chat with him, didn't we? About it?
About the page from Mike Noble.
Yes.
From what is it here? Something Zoo TV Century 21 or something. What's the name of that comic?
Century, is it Century 21 or TV Comic 20? TV 21 or something?
Century 21, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. That was lovely. So he was talking about it being two pieces of art, and he's got the artist to redraw and repaint a bit of it. And, really interesting.
Yeah.
And then we looked
like cutting out stuff and pasting stuff together in the truly classic time. And these are also artists who have sadly passed on. But looking at this art, I was just sort of mesmerised just looking at it. And these aren't necessarily stories that I would go out of my way to seek out, like a couple of pages from a Wurzel Gummidge comic. I don't immediately think, get me on that Gummidge. Even though I used to love watching that when I was a kid. But the comic itself, I was staring at pages for like minutes, just marvelling at the ink work.
We were talking about just single panels for ages, weren't we? Talking about the skill involved,
and the effortlessn's.
People need to be aware of how good these are, because that's what you aspire. What you should be aspiring to do in yours.
One big thing that came out, because some of these comics were obviously of licensed, TV shows and things like that. Because everything had a comic, didn't it?
Yeah.
But there was the reference was you knew who the people were, but it wasn't an over reliant.
It wasn't a photographic reference.
It wasn't a photographic reference, and it wasn't changing the look to suit your artwork.
Okay.
There was a couple of panels, like it was a Star Trek comic, wasn't it, Tony, that we looked at?
Yeah.
You had a couple of panels that just you see a close up on Spock's face. It's got to look like Nimoy, doesn't it? There's no way around it. But it wasn't a sort of tracing. It was just an artist's rendition of it, and that was all you needed.
I remember reading a Star Trek Doctor Who crossover comic, got about 10 years ago, and I could tell you every episode of Star Trek Next Generation, every episode of Doctor Who, where they'd taken each picture from.
Oh, no.
Really? It's that bad. Yeah. And it almost all wrong sizes and stuff,
Yeah.
And that really takes me out of it. As soon as you start putting use reference, brilliant. All artists, use reference.
Yeah.
Don't just draw over the top of it, or even just put the photograph into the comic. It just takes me out of it immediately.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And another sort of it just got me this sort of, it was only a small room filled with some original pages, but it just inspired me. It certainly inspired me to talk about when we're doing the recommends and stuff. But it just got me. It inspired me
buy stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it got me thinking about comics in general and the design of comics, and we had most of our comics conversations in this room, didn't we? So we were just talking about the structure of things and the detail.
John M. Byrne stuff, and
and good. Just the layout of the page and how important the negative space between panels is. That's something that I think's been lost.
Yeah.
You know, the way that they've mixed up with design. There's so much talk about the 9-panel grid, but some of these comics that were done for like the weeklies and stuff, there's a grid, but things are breaking. Even panels are exploding into one another. You know, things are breaking out of panels. And there's so much energy going on that I think is.
But the storytelling was intact.
Yeah,
that's the thing for me as well. You know.
Yeah.
The storytelling has to be intact as part of it.
Yeah, completely. And you mix that with like the colours or the inks and stuff. It made me long for the more classic use of negative space, because I think with a lot of like modern comics now, there is no white border, white panel around things. Everything is everything is bleeding off. Everything is which obviously has its place and looks fantastic and looks wonderful. But I think there's still room for like
people have to remember that comics is a creation of your mind, so it goes between one static image to another. No matter how much energy you put in that particular image, and I'm a fan of people who can put energy, there has to be movement between the panels, and if you're not doing it, it doesn't work. I just on our WhatsApp, I just sent a picture so Dan can see that one of the pages that we're referencing. And you can see it on my Instagram to see what we're talking about. But there was and I have no context of the comic, and it's the one me and Tony were just talking about. Yeah. But just the very design of things, and just
like those jagged explosion lines taking you from panel 1 to 2.
Perfectly placed, aren't they?
Yeah. And it's also fascinating to see, like, on other pages there was beautiful artwork, big white box in the corner because that's where the logo's going to be every time. Yeah. But that doesn't mean the artist has looked at that and gone, well, I can't fill that space, but let's play with the design of the page.
Yeah.
It wasn't just I've got to leave that and everything else is going to be formulaic. It's something, formula, I think, is sometimes it's an easy thing to fall foul of, and I've certainly done it many times. You just think you have a certain structure in your head. Maybe it's a way you get accustomed to a way of reading things. So looking at stuff like this is a real sort of energy shot to the arm, thinking, oh, well, we can still like mess things up.
It was you showed me some interiors of a comic you picked up, and there's one where a guy throws, someone's coming at him and he forward rolls him, and the forward roll is going off the page, and it's like if you forward rolled him, like flipped him to pointing down to the bottom left hand side, that's where the reader's eye wants to go. It's a simple fix. So you've taken the reader's eye off the page to the right. You could have sent it down diagonal left to the next panel. It's a missed a trick there. I find a lot of stuff, if it's splash page all the time, it's I think of it like waves. You get a peak and a trough. One there has to be a high to be a low, and if you do highs all the time and you've got flat, there's nothing there.
It's an explosion in an action movie. You have one good one. You'll always remember it. If everything's just being blown up and destroyed
all the time, you just don't take it in.
But it does show, especially looking at those old comics. It does show that you need to know about comics to make them. You need to understand the process, understand how a page is put together and works for dynamism and size and movement and conversation and everything like that. And if you don't understand that, you can't do it yourself. There's such a language in these pages,
and totally be aware of it's not just comics, because these guys that are making these pages that we love, they're children's book illustrators. They're doing all these other things because they're broadening, and you're taking sort of techniques or tips that you've picked up from different jobs to inform the other. Like there's, I'm probably looking at some comics and just, I have no idea that illustrator probably, this comic artist did a line of children's books covers. I don't know about that, but that work has definitely informed what they do in those pages.
There's an ability to tell a story over an ability to just push your own style, which I think we see. I mean, a lot of the styles on those pages were fairly similar between different artists, I'm going to say. But the storytelling was the ability that they looked to do,
Who was it? Like, is one of the a sort of like the Reverend artist who kind of like his work is almost legendary, is like said you should be able to go from doing comic book stuff to illustration for magazines.
Yeah, well, they all did, didn't they? Look at all the greats, you know.
Yeah,
you should be able to kind of flip between the two, because once you've kind of got your eye in, and what works and doesn't, you should be able to translate those skills.
Yeah. It's like they say travel broadens the mind. You know, don't just. I mean, we love comics. That's what this show's all about. But don't always just be all about that, because your experiences and your skills in other things. Just try. It's got
a color, and just even a broader life experiences colors everything you do artistically.
Yeah.
You know, what's that quote? All art is an extension of the ego. You know, I don't mean in like a big word ego.
No.
Ego. I mean, you know, all comics is an extension of the mind. You know, essentially. Yeah. And that's what they are. And you need to have a richness of experience and see different things and know different things in order to translate it into, what if we did this? Yeah. You know, that it's like that, isn't it? And those guys, they weren't flashy. They probably, you know, sat at their desks in a shirt and tie and smoked a pipe, and they did it all. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They had the ability.
Yeah.
You know.
Because, I mean, obviously, as we're not glossing over the fact that this was a job. They had to sit down and they had to do 2 pages, you know, a day or something like that, you know, just churn out these, or 2 pages a week, it may be, with weekly, you know, the UK Weekly Comics or something like that.
You'd have loved the Star Trek page, by the way, Dan, because he was saying to us, the dude, he recently stuck it in the exhibition because it had the Enterprise landing on a planet. Because Star Trek was kind of a bit of an unknown quantity back then. They didn't really know what's going on. So it lands on a planet and then it falls over.
Yeah, because they're like, we're tipping over. He's like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. No, so the exhibitions, I thought it was a great touch.
That was where you bought the comics, wasn't it? So, I mean, cards on the table, we felt there could have been more for sale there.
Yeah.
I think we all sort of independently said it and thought it in the little wash-up we had afterwards. Like, there wasn't anywhere to buy any 2000 AD trades, for example, or anything like that. There was no like old annuals or, you know, nothing like that. You either had the stuff that the creators had on their table as their comp issues that they were selling, or you had maybe 1.5 crates worth of comics in the exhibition area, which were fairly niche. You know, they were sort of.
And one example of this. Sorry, Dan. One example of this. And apologies if I completely missed this. Anyone who went to Lawless probably did, but I didn't notice it. I wanted to pick up Thistlebone.
Yeah, the second trade was there.
I didn't. Was the second trade there?
It was on Tom Eglinton's table.
Was it?
But the first one, yep.
The actual book, because I saw like a card.
The second
cover.
book, but I didn't see the first book for sale. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, because that's...
There was art from Thistlebone.
Oh my God, those pages.
Steve Davis's what's his name?
Simon Davis. Yeah.
Simon Davis. Sorry, we're looking at his pages, weren't we? Yeah, they were fucking great.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they were only about 140, weren't they? A page, fully painted pages.
Yeah, it was like 120 to 140 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We had to pour through that. We did that usually, don't we? We do that every convention. We go and look through all the original art, don't we? Yeah.
It's always one where you're looking through it and then you see something and you look up at the person next to you and they're like, fucking hell.
Yeah. And there was certainly like, what was the other? I didn't go back to his table too. I was thinking about picking up a print. Is it Hellman? What was that?
Oh, yeah, Mike Dory.
See, these are names that people go, oh, of course, Mike Dory. Oh, of course,
Mike Dory, Pete Dory. I'm getting confused.
Pete Dory's our mate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But I think it was Mike Dory. But people are like, oh yeah, of course. But I don't know. Well, I was just looking at the artwork, going, oh, this looks lovely. This is beautiful, you know. And I think that's what I love about the convention scenes, especially things like this where people go for the guests and the artists, and sometimes they're older artists. This sort of event is catered towards you go for the guest list. It is that kind of event.
That was what it was kind of made up for. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen Mike Dory at an event. He probably has done some stuff, but he's very much old school British comics, you know.
Yeah, and he was doing. He did talk about it, didn't they? Because there was panels and stuff. We didn't get a chance to see any of those when we were walking about, but but it's just discovering like new art and just.
I mean, he did to say that he did do. I think he did Robusters and he did some.
Because there was prints and stuff of that, wasn't there?
Yeah. Max Zero he did, which was really good actually. I really liked his Max Zero stuff. I was a big fan of that story.
Yeah.
And I think he did some like football comics like Roy the Rovers and stuff as well.
I think, did he do any Road Trooper? I like Road Trooper.
Yes, he did do Road Trooper. Yeah, you love him. Yeah.
A bit of Road Trooper.
Yeah. And I will say shout out to the people in cosplay at the show, because these were cosplayers who clearly read the comics.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. The other thing as well. Obviously, my internalized, not internalized, hatred.
It's not
of
internalized.
cosplayers.
It's barely contained.
Yeah, hatred of cosplayers doesn't really apply to most of those people, because they actually strangely read and buy the comics, unlike the ones you see at MCM or something. They actually buy the comics and they're inspired by the comics. Although we did have a conversation with Eamon to say that it does seem to be the 2012 movie Dread that tends to sort of dominate cosplay these days. You didn't get as much of actual Dread, No.
I think it's an easier costume to pull off, though, isn't it? That movie Dread, which is
I suppose
10 years old now.
I know.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Look, we're not getting a sequel, people, but we've got the film. Let's just be happy.
Well, they've sold it all off, haven't they? All the kit on it. They stuck it on eBay, didn't they? You could buy it on
really?
eBay. All the motorbikes and stuff. Yeah.
They were saying like, maybe a TV series, but it's like, no.
Well, they said that at the 40th, and we just had the 45th, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Production hell.
Yeah. But it was definitely it was a fun day, and certainly all you toothers, is that what they call them? Yeah. No doubt got a kick out of it. We weren't there for the Sunday, so hopefully the Sunday was obviously fun as well. And so stay tuned. We'll probably be mentioning when it's on next year, if it's on next year.
I mean, reader beware. If you're looking to go to a comic convention, it's probably not for you. But if you're into 2008 British comics and you like meeting and getting signatures off creators, then it will be.
Or you want a bit of art.
Or you want to look at some art. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing to say, and that's a good shout.
I'm glad. I'm actually glad. Like, the downers we've had over the years about these so-called comic conventions.
Yeah.
Lawless is an actual comic convention.
Yeah.
Dedicated to comics,
And it's one where I would say if you go to like just say an MCM or some of the big ones, I'm not necessarily going to buy an original page or something like that from that. And I say this as someone who doesn't buy original pages.
Be overpriced at MCM, I'm guessing.
And also because you're carrying it around and all of that palaver. This is definitely someone who. This is an event where this is a perfect event to buy an original page from a Simon Davis or a Boo Cook or
Boo Cook had a load, didn't he?
Yeah. Whether it be the classic 2000 AD artists or the more recent, there's all kinds there. Or to get Glenn Fabry piece of work.
Yeah.
It's these sort of shows that you want to be on the lookout for. Because then...
Yeah, Clint Langley turned up before we left, didn't we? Yeah. Didn't he? He was there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you know what? I contemplated... I wasn't going to do it because I haven't got that sort of cheddar to throw around. But I did think there was points looking through like some of these original pages, just be like, oh, that's just a nice bit of art to own.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just having no context of the book or anything like that, just to be looking at some of the artwork and going, oh, I'd like to have that.
We've got key rings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I bought everyone a key ring.
Yeah, because he's a nice guy, people. He's a nice
guy. Not really, don't believe that.
Yes.
One of my recommends is a book I bought it, actually. So we'll talk about that in a bit.
You might hear more about what I got from there in my recommends, which
will
surprise you.
But we got excited. I got excited watching you look at that. In fact, it was me who asked how much they were. Do you remember?
Yeah. And then it was funny because I had Tom on my left shoulder, Tony on my right shoulder, looking down at these comics, which I'm not going to spoil yet. And we were looking through them, and everyone was just going, "Oh, wow, look at that!"
Yeah.
That craftsmanship kind of wins out, doesn't it?
Yeah. There was the perfect way to get us to buy those comics is walk us through an exhibition that ends up with comics that kind of we've just looked at. You know what I mean? It's almost like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. But another event that happened this weekend, obviously we weren't there, but we're certainly interested to see.
We know people who have been.
It was obviously MCM. One of the big ones happened this weekend. Anyone we know who was there or had books and stuff, let us know how it went, because certainly past guests and friends of the show, from the sounds of it, did gangbusters. So, and to be honest, I'm really chuffed for that, because obviously me and Dan had the classic. I mean, we've got the urban legend, weekend, me and Dan. But that's just us. That was just us because I know a lot of people do really well at it, and obviously it's a different kind of event. It's a strange kind of one, especially in this post-COVID world. I know you popped to one last time, didn't you, Tony? And you briefly talked about it on.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah,
we were saying, weren't we, the carpet situation, the great debate. They've kind of got rid of that.
That classic carpet.
Because when we went there, you need to put on the fucking sunglasses because it was like neon green carpet in certain areas, which is great for sort of delineating where was where. But they kind of done away with that now.
Yeah,
I think so. It certainly was when I was there last. I was there recently, wasn't I? The last one.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to fucking keep me up at nights, to be honest.
Yeah,
you know
it would be fascinating to see because obviously, from some of the shots you see that I've seen, obviously heaving, lots of people moving around, but there wasn't so many banners hanging down. It wasn't the multicolored carnival that I imagine an MCM being. So I would be fascinated.
But apparently, by all accounts, it was absolutely mobbed. It was on the news, I think, about how mobbed it was. Yeah.
A lot of people saying all the comics have absolutely sold out, and there's some that have mentioned that there was lots of stores doing kind of how do you describe not straight comics like prints and blah blah blah, blah all that kind of stuff. So maybe if you did have a comic, you that was a good thing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. I know Nick Bryan was there, and he sold out.
Oh, he did his first one, didn't he? That was his first
fantastic.
one, I think he said. Yeah. It's
frustrating because I still don't. Last thing, Vince, and I know we keep fucking banging on about it. It's forever fucking jaded me because I think I don't want to take that fucking hit again, man.
No.
It wasn't the financial thing was one thing, but it was I'm sitting in this convention over 3 days, not fucking selling anything, and barely anyone coming over.
Me and Dan, they're happy
Emily,
time. Emily and Gav, we sat down. We had a lovely weekend, sort of talking to each other and just having a laugh and sketching John Wick or RoboCop or whatever was happening.
Gary Erskine on our left.
Yeah. And but we didn't do very well. So it goes. Other people do really well, But and I cracked a tooth in half. But that's by the by. I'm not going to blame them for that.
Well, yeah.
I'll just blame those gummy sweets.
Tories.
Every time.
Yeah.
So if you're at MCM and certainly our lovely listeners who are past guests or who are tabling there, let us know how you did, because I love hearing that people have gone to a big event like that, a big event which essentially they don't, on paper, they don't care who you are as long as you just pay for a table and turn up to your table and do stuff. It's a numbers game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I want people to do well at these sort of shows. I want them to go there. And just absolutely sell out. So let us know, because we'll certainly shout about it next time you're there. Or
What's the next thing?
What's
the next event?
Oh God,
I don't know, man.
No, I don't know.
I have to have a look.
Lakes. Maybe
it could be. When is the Lakes?
Yeah,
we need to do I think we need to do a comics event roundup. I think we're getting to that point where bloody hell, we're having to talk about events again.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm at two. Yeah. I'm at 2 next month, aren't I? So, I mean, they're both overseas, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
That's great.
Back in the saddle. Yeah.
Talking of saddles.
Yeah.
I don't know what segue that is. I really don't know. One thing I did notice. What do you think about comic book? I know we've talked about comic book journalism a couple of times on this show, but especially online websites for comic journalism. These are things that I haven't been to for a long time, because normally I'm just listening to what's out there, what you guys are. Things that I'm interested in, and I trust more the recommendation and the word of mouth than I do maybe a review on a website and stuff. But I did sort of in the lead up to today's show, I just popped onto a website that had comic book in its name,
right?
And I thought, okay, how long is it before I get to a I know with a lot of these websites, they get so big, and because comics are a multimedia thing, comics get pushed down, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, are we talking about like a TV show or something like that?
Yeah. So, and obviously, I'm talking about comic book resources, CBR. It's obviously one of the bigger ones. But I just thought, oh, right, okay. I mean, it's one of the big names, isn't it, really, I think, for this sort of media. But how many, if you go to the latest, how many articles do you have to scroll past to get to the first comic book one?
I don't know. Did you keep a record?
I've got it in front of me.
5.
Yeah, I'll go for 8.
You're going for 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Just for a bit of fun, I'm going to read them out. Okay, this is their latest.
The headlines.
The headlines. Yeah. Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi reveals first look at baby Ahsoka. Whatever it is.
Don't care. Yeah.
Next one. Star Wars: Tales of the Jedi finally brings back Yaddle.
Still don't care. Yeah, I don't know what Yaddle is.
The Mandalorian Season 3 footage shows first look at Mandalore.
Yawn.
The Retro Arcade Collection proves you don't own NFTs.
Don't care.
HBO Max's Close Enough stays consistently millennial friendly.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red shuts down Real World Witcher School.
What?
Okay.
DC debuts dramatic Batman trailer celebrating Chip Zdarsky and Jorge
Yay!
Jimenez new run. Yes.
Phew. What number was that?
That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was about 7, 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So between us.
And then, when's the next one? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We're a podcast about a medium that the world doesn't care about.
Savage, man.
No, but literally, it's dare I say it? You know, when we were kids, we always wanted this.
I think it cuts both ways now as well. Yeah. I think we're getting people who are saying, "Oh, I'm going to create a comics website," and all they want to do is put about, "Oh, I'm doing an episode breakdown of Smallville." I had a conversation with someone recently, and I mentioned in the past I've mentioned to them the term Bronze Age, and they didn't know what that meant. Yeah. And they run a comics website, and then I mentioned to them OA for original art, and they said, "No, you've lost me now." I'm like, well, what do you talk about on your? And they when I looked at it, they just talk about shitty TV.
Yeah. I've kind of checked out. I don't watch any superhero TV shows, and that's a fucking lie. No, actually, I can't think of any I watch at the moment, and I kind of I don't really have much interest in seeing any more of the big like Marvel DC films.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a downer. I just
we're just in a world that like what you like, just don't be a dick. That's the
I told you what I did earlier, guys, didn't I? I dragged, because I have a room where I keep all my long boxes. I dragged 2 long boxes out of sort of mixed up comics ones, and I put them on the floor, and I spent 3 hours going through them, and that was perfection for my weekend. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a massive pile of comics and trades next to your bed?
Everywhere, mate. Yeah.
Because every so often I have to say, right, oh shit, I better take all these trades back down.
Yeah, because it's dangerous. I haven't had that sort of pile of books for a while, but it's always like there's always 2 or 3 sort of tucked away. The Viz Annual's always there, actually.
Classic.
It's always nearby.
I like to have comics in every eye line. So when I wake up, I look across, just by the alarm clock, there's comics. When I stand up to go for a wee in the night, I pass some comics on the way. Everywhere to be some, just to sort of enrich my life.
You got any in the bulk at the moment?
Sorry, mate?
You got any in the toilet at the moment?
No, I don't keep them in the toilet, although I do take them in to read in the toilet. But I just worry about the damp in there.
I've got an Eagle Annual.
You're supposed to be getting it in the bowl, Tony.
No, I go to the bath. What?
No.
Hey! It came out. What?
Literally.
Right, I didn't say I did it. I just asked Sarah if she'd ever done it.
Yeah.
And she gave me one of those, no, you weirdo looks. And then it just stopped. Everyone started on me for about 20 minutes. And now I can never win an argument.
Don't act like you're hard done by.
I was the victim of this.
Finally. Finally, I've got.
You did that high-pitched thing at one point. You went, why do you say all this stuff? And my reply was, I get bored in my head.
It's so true.
He's doing it again.
Get bored in my head.
It made me laugh then. It makes me laugh now. It's the way you said it, though, Dan. I get bored in my head. Oh dear!
Why do you say this stuff?
Why do you do this?
In my head.
Oh God! Yeah. So that was the weekend that was. Whilst Dan was mowing up,
digging up a garden,
a garden.
Off the lady neighbours.
Yeah. Were you like Brad Pitt from like that?
You got a vest, didn't you?
Once upon a time in Hollywood, were you just sort of? Are you? Well, I mean,
you're
the closest. You dropped a bollock.
That sounds painful.
I did a vest on because I was absolutely roasting, and I didn't really clock how kind of sunny it was, and now I've got two red shoulders. So.
Oh no! Right. So when you took the vest off, you looked like you had a white vest underneath.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh dear!
That is super sexy.
I mean, you are the closest I've ever been to a Diet Coke man, Dan. I will say that.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, we slept in the same room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Top and tailed.
Whew, look at him, girls.
I've never slept in the same room as you, Dan. I've slept Vince has slept in a room with me and you, but I've never slept with you. So somebody snip that. Someone bit of audio.
Needs to cut that audio.
Something to look forward to, perhaps.
Yeah.
You never know.
Put that on the things to do this year.
Yeah.
Since I've done all that weight, I don't snore anymore either.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. How are you, Dan? All jokes aside, how are you feeling about comic events at the moment? Obviously, like after the couple of years we've had with a pandemic, etc., and there's a real, the wheels are in motion again.
I'm still kind of like up. I want to go and do these kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm kind of. I'm still in a bit of a lockdown mindset where I've come a bit of a homebody. Do you know what I mean? Just like I don't even consider like someone said to me I should go out for something to eat, and I was like, oh really? Oh yeah, right. yeah.
Right, so spot.
Yeah, it just seemed a bit kind of odd that you. Why would you do that? I was like, oh yeah, because that's what people do.
That's what people do. I know what you mean, because you do, especially if you've been working from home as well. There is that real it's like that. You're almost afraid to go outside, isn't it? It's like
you kind of crash,
Red from Shawshank. Like
you kind of crash from kind of like being at work to doing the lockdown, and then going lockdown back into the kind of the work life thing. And it's like, that's a bit odd, like doing that. But it's like, no, that's the way we used to fucking do it, and you got to get back to it.
Yeah. Well, I hope certainly if there's any creators who have gone from that to doing an MCM table, hope you're all right just in yourselves, because it's I mean, the bigger shows are an assault on the senses as they are anyway, aren't they? And they're tiring, so tiring, like these shows.
Knackering, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've been going back in for months now, like 2 days a week. And this Thursday, when I went out to grab something at lunchtime, it felt like London was back to the way it was before.
Yeah,
it felt like this is the same, because there was loads of people. The energy was back. It seemed like everyone would got back to normal.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
it was surprising.
Yeah, but of course you still got to be careful out there, people.
Bristol was really busy.
Really?
Yeah.
I came back with a red face.
Excellent.
I was only out in the sun for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I've got paper mache skin. I really do.
One of the topics you mentioned, I guess we can touch on this briefly. We've got time.
Yeah.
We mentioned the one side of it, and you've come across the mention in the artwork you were talking about, like the level of craftsmanship. And then on the flip side, I see like artists who use photographic reference and literally paint over photos and put their characters in. I think it's more of a kind of a manga thing to do. And I just...
You think it's more of a manga thing? No, I've definitely see it in a lot of ways.
I think what you're talking about is backgrounds, aren't you, Dan?
Backgrounds, yeah. Not so much...
Backgrounds,
not so much characters, but like... Literally, I've looked at stuff, thought, fucking hell, that's great. And then like they show, this is how I did it. And it's got a photo. And they've done a digital paint over or something. It's like, oh, okay, that's why it looks so good. It's because you've worked it. They've done artistry on the photo, like they've kind of made it like hyper real. So where it's like a rainy sequence or something, it really looks like they've kind of dialed it up, and you can tell they've done something.
They've put work into it.
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, Photoshop fucking change to paint layers or whatever it is, that filter. They've literally spent time doing it, but it's just uh, I struggle to get my head around it sometimes, that people really demand like that, like a comic coming on sale will really want this high level of quality from certain artists. They like the quality of line, the kind of composition, whatever. And then a large portion of people on the opposite side of the site, they get blown away by this stuff, but it's like a process. Does he understand what I mean? It's kind of there seems to be an acceptance of both, and I just don't understand. It kind of confuses me. It's like if you post up a half-finished sketch on Instagram or something, and it gets loads and loads of likes, and then you post up the finished article where it's all kind of cleaned up and coloured, and then no one really likes it, and it's like, oh, should I just post loads of fucking half-finished sketches?
Yeah,
I know likes on social media doesn't translate to how good something is or whatever. Yeah. I just find it an odd sort of dichotomy between the two.
I don't. If it's a photograph, it takes me out immediately.
Yeah.
I think you're right when they use it just to work the lines of the street and the pavement and all that sort of thing. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I think because a lot of the thing with manga is I'm used to that super realistic backgrounds with the cartooning for the characters. I'm okay with that, but I think there is an awful lot that's too photorealistic these days.
You've got to have a consistency through the comic. Like if you're going to use photorealistic backgrounds in one panel, then don't go to some fucking half-assed draw in the next. You know what I mean? Otherwise the contrast really shows up for what it is. It really stuck out for me in that when we was doing the manga month, and I did that Hellbound book, which is Korean. And had obviously had an office that they'd shot from dozens and dozens of angles, and they used it for the police station. And it was like, well, you've really done a bit of work here to kind of set up all these angles and take photos, and then you've worked those in and drawn the characters in the thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like you're taking a massive fucking shortcut and like, Googling a photo and then, I'll draw my character into that. You've set the time up to sort of get the location set up, shot it in the various angles, and then worked on top of it. So are you saving yourself much time? I don't know, but you get that photographic realism in there.
Yeah, it depends on the project, doesn't it? We've talked about this before. It depends on what it is and what you're about, and within certain area, levels of it. I don't like it if it's just a fucking photograph with a filter over the top of it. And then whatever you're doing a comic about, that will piss me off. There was that War of the Worlds thing, wasn't there? I put on Twitter recently, and the advert said fully painted, and it was just clearly photographs.
Oh yeah, and someone fucking drawn a little moustache.
Somebody drawn a beard on it, like someone had doodled on a newspaper.
Yeah, awful.
That was awful. But I think there's certain things I accept on it, and certain styles of comics I prefer it to be a much more cartooning style.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's levels of it, isn't there? Really. Yeah.
One thing that kills me, and apologies to anyone who kind of like takes offenses, is using poser in comics. I just can't deal with it. I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, fucking things. I just don't. Instant turn off for me. I don't want to read it. Not.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I actually did a comic and the artist was using that, and I didn't realise what he was using for a long time. But
yours is a kind of a bit different because, like, it's kind of it's a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean?
Mine was long before I knew you.
It was Alex, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But it's fun. Like, it's kind of like you're not taking yourself too seriously with it. It's when people kind of like we're going, especially if you go on top web comics. There's loads of comics that are just someone's bought some poser models and then like they're doing this thing, and it's like. I don't know. Maybe it's fucking just sour grapes. I just don't. I can't fucking deal with it.
I no.
Very stiff, isn't it?
That's I think it's very lifeless. I mean,
they all look the fucking same. All the faces.
For me, it's like God. I remember when is it Striker that
yes
newspaper print strip that it was all like
it's in the sun, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the sun. I think it's still there, and that moved to like CG. Probably over a decade ago, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, or longer than that. Yeah.
And it just, for me, it just looks terrible. But that's me personally. If you like it, you like it.
I think occasionally, I mean, I live in the world of, Al Williamson and Howard Chaykin and, Walt Simonson and, these sort of people who just it was just bleeding out of them. They knew what they were doing. The marks they made, a single mark on a paper will fucking make me come to climax, and just stuff like that just eternally turns me off, I think. But it does depend on your taste, isn't it? Well, like it's a sexual experience looking at, a Walt Simonson figure drawing, and you think, wow, fucking hell. But when someone's just like plugging it in and moving someone's arms about on a computer or just putting a photograph on there, it's like, it just leaves me completely cold. I've got no interest in it. Yeah. And the best example is what we spent, an hour looking at yesterday, Vince. We had a conversation for about 10 minutes about a single panel and talking about the clothing in that panel. Everyone looks different in the crowd scene. Even the background figures, it just had a distinctive look to them. It was so beautiful,
It's interesting because I look at there's that connecting comic artists on Facebook, which I'm always kind of looking at because it's a kind of decent way to gauge how much you'd get for your artwork. You know what I mean? There's sometimes people say, right, I'm an artist, I'm selling my skills or offering my skills up, and then they put 5 or 6 examples, and so I'm charging $50 a page. I mean, fucking hell, man, like you should be charging way more than that. Your art is worth a lot more. And then on the other end that you see, I'm charging $100, and it's like, mate, you no one to pay for this. This is awful.
I remember we had I can't remember why we were doing it, but we were talking about trying to get artists for a project on the Facebook group years ago, and someone actually put, I charge this amount an hour, and I'm like, for what? Yes, okay. It's like maybe it's a difficult one as well because someone said the argument about comic book illustrators, artists charging per hour as per page. And for me, you've got to talk about that per page rate when you're negotiating, when you've read the script. Yeah. And I think as well, it's a different ballgame. If you're saying you've got, a month to do this 20-page comic, you can do it. But if it was me and I was paying someone by the hour, and some people are like on Twitter, every 5 minutes they're going, have you seen the new Obi-Wan episode? I'd almost be like, am I paying for this hour? Will you just watch the television program? I know it sounds like me being a hard taskmaster, but it would certainly irk.
Well, you're paying for something.
It'd be the same at any job, man. If you're a graphic designer or what I do, and I get paid by the hour, and he said, what do you do the last hour? He said, well, I watched the whole of that Steven Seagal movie. And we go, why am I paying you? Yeah.
Because if you're doing the page rate thing, you say, right, I'm going to charge £100 a page, whatever, just pull that figure out. And then you get the script, and then every panel is 2 armies of people on horseback.
2 armies of people on bicycles,
fighting. You're like, oh, fucking hell. And that's where you, as working freelance or whatever you're doing, you've got to kind of weigh that up. I think, well, actually, mate, it's going to be $200 a page or whatever.
I think that's fair enough. I don't see a problem with that, especially the size of the page as well. Sometimes,
but if you look it's about a sentient rock floating in the blackness of space.
It takes place at night, and all you can see is eyeballs.
That's fine. Bang that out. That's no problem.
So anyone who has a sentient rock in space or takes place at night, if you've got any comics, then just give us a shout.
Hit me up.
$5 a page.
I've actually got an artist on the hook, hopefully doing a cover for Vanguard. So he posted
the guy whose art you put up the other day.
Yeah, he looks fucking dynamite. So I was like, oh mate, I'll have some of that. He said he was going to send something over in 3 days, which is with 2 days now. So
so you get it tomorrow.
Well, the thumbnail sketch,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got yet to agree the kind of layout.
If he doesn't get it to you by the end of, the last minute of tomorrow, then just say you're cutting his wages.
Go fucking rago.
Yeah, just go in.
Yes, I haven't given him any money yet. He was quite trusting and said, I won't give you any, you won't ask you for any money until I've given you the artwork.
Yeah.
And I'm, as you know, I'm as honest as the day is long.
Yeah,
I won't fuck him over, but I'm going to say to him, look, mate, what you should do is send a low-res proof with watermarks. When the client gives you the money and okays it, then you send them the high-res.
I'm fine with that. Then that's generally what I do. Somebody says, I'll send you the proper copy over later. I'll say, I'll send you the money now then. I'm fine by that. I've been bitten on it where I've paid half up front and never seen it and had to ask for money back and stuff. I've had that before.
Yeah, it's horrible, mate.
It's really uncomfortable. Yeah.
And sometimes kind of that I tarnish all artists with this brush. When you got the money in your pocket, the kind of instinct to do the work,
the immediacy of it slows down, doesn't it? Yeah.
If you're like, mate, there's the fucking carrot on the stick. As soon as you do the work, you get the carrot.
Yeah.
That's so much more.
It's why I some sort of crowdfunders where the stuff isn't done yet. That's why it doesn't work, because they get the money and then it's like, well, where's the book?
Yeah,
ties into that as well, I think. But one collaboration that we'll briefly touch upon before doing the shout out to the recommendation that has been going quite well, and there's good news, is Tony Esmond's latest.
Oh, thank you, man. Well, it's not just mine; it's all of ours. It's another group job, isn't it, for tribute?
Yeah.
We pulled you into the inner sanctum now.
Do you want to say a little bit about this title now? Now that it's
No, it's at the printers, and I've sent it out to a few people. Funny enough, Tom Stewart's just replied to me, or as I like to call him now, John Stewart, because I accidentally called him that on a previous show, and he rang me laughing. He's just read it, and he's sent me a really nice, thoughtful reply.
Because we haven't said too much about it yet, because it's one of those, just get it done, make sure everything's right. But we're at that stage now, isn't it? Do you want to talk? About
the only deadline we had on it, I suppose, V, was at one point I thought I was going to get it to TCAF. Now it looks like I will still. And we had that in mind, didn't we? It's called Hidden Lives. It's the spiritual continuation of the Hall Chronicles, but is slightly different in tone. But it's a similar sort of format. It's a number of artists I've written stories for. I won't spoil them all, because I think so 3 are out there already. So Johnny Cannon's done something. Yeah. Dan's done something. I'll say 4 actually. John Tucker's done a strip, and Roach Ball's done a strip, and there's a couple of other people involved as well who we'll talk about as we go along, maybe in a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah.
But it's the way I described it is fragments of people's lives, and how we get a small snapshot into someone's lives, but it allows us to learn more about them than you would naturally from those smaller little moments, quiet moments, introspective moments. And it's stories of real people. The stories, they're different names and everything, but they jump out of real people's stories. It's for Tribute Press, there's no violence, there's no nudity, but it's quite adult in theme, in tone, I suppose. Dan's done one which is pre-adult and comes from a real life experience of someone I spoke to. So it's almost in a way it's biographical, documentary kind of comics. And Vince has done the cover, and he's done a sort of because I literally gave you free rein, didn't you? You'd read all the scripts and you'd seen all the stories as they were coming in. I said, look, do something, because you did the brilliant video cassette cover for the previous one. And then you've done the second one, and you came back with this thing that's part Contact magazine, part documentary, part pixelated face, kind of haunting image, which is just really good. Did you want to mention it or talk about it?
Yeah, because the brief, for want of a better term, it's that for me. It spoke to when you watch those documentaries about like people who've been through things, whether it be traumatic or they're witnesses or accounts or things, and it was the person in the dark room, just the silhouette where they've changed the name of the they've lowered the pitch of the voice and stuff, and it was very much what is behind the curtain of everyday people, when their lives are just one-on-one with someone, what truths come out, and that was their fascinating.
Yeah, a bit of honesty.
It's it's honesty, even though, like you say, Tony, there's certainly a bit of like a biographical element to it in some ways. There's a lot of reality, but there's also, it's very hard hitting fictionalized honesty, if that's a way of saying it, because it's not. I'm not saying it's fiction, but it's producing a window into other people's lives without anyone.
Yeah, I think in the same way we did with the Hall Chronicles, it works on like a level where Hall Chronicles came from the fact that there was this big movement to say that, you know, it's brilliant being a sex worker. And having dealt with a number, you know, who've been seriously sexually assaulted and stuff like that, I can tell you it's not, you know, and I wanted the reality of that. And I extrapolated that into the new one, because it's men and women who feature in this one.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, look, this is the reality of stuff. It's not like this sort of, not everything's like, you know, Steven Universe and, you know, everything's fluffy and, you know.
And there's certainly people, stories in there. I mean, the one that Dan did the art chores in is a gut punch. Absolutely. It's traumatic, the ending to that. Traumatic. And obviously there's going to be no spoilers, but you've got to see it for yourself. But just to know, it's traumatic because I know there's a biting reality to it.
It's not made up, that one.
Yeah, and I know, like, you know, this show's known for our humour and, like, you know, having a laugh and stuff, but this is a serious book, and rightfully so. There's no, you know.
Well, that's why we put the mind thing in it. You know, so it's you know, it's you know, once we hit a certain amount, the money will be going to mind for it. Because I think they're genuinely really good people. You know, and I know for a fact they've saved people's lives, and, you know, they're like really nice people. Yeah. And that's kind of been my sort of charity that I've worked at when I've done this sort of stuff before. And I think that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, thanks guys. So sorry.
There's a lovely sort of like I mean, obviously you've got rather than like a credit page on the inside, there's a lovely sort of introduction piece that you've sort of written to there. Which is,
to the point, I stripped that right down actually. Yeah, tried to keep it stripped down.
Was that something that when you first wrote it, you were just pouring it all out onto the page until you sort of?
Yeah, that's like 3 or 4 pages of notes that I stripped down and stripped down and stripped down, and even to the point where I almost took an extra line out, but we just discussed it, didn't we? So we left it in. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a lovely collaborative experience, and we've got a little WhatsApp, we've got a little DM group of everyone involved, and
I think for me, if I was to sum up a work like this, it's like it's a book where no one is good, no one is bad, no one is innocent, no one is guilty. They are people.
Yeah, it's lights and darks and mixtures.
That's valuable. It's pure. So
everyone's been great, man, and
I think the book itself is a real development on from TWC. I think it's a real
thanks, man.
Like, let's say a spiritual successor, but I also think it succeeds in other ways. You know, it is developing, and as we always say, the next book has always got to be, you know, either improved on, like, whether it
I tried to and I think there's some stuff in there. I always trust I trust you guys, but I trust Sam from No Brow a lot. To be honest with me, because he has that way of being honest with creators, you know. And if you actually work for a professional company, you got to be able to take criticism along with, you know, along with being congratulated. And he came back with some really interesting points, and he liked it. So I was really over the moon about that. But he had some points about it. He said, well, think about this, you know, and there's stuff that me and Vince have discussed we're going to change on the second print, I think.
That's good.
Yeah. No, you got to take that on the chin, man. You got, you know, and
totally.
Coming from a good place, as it should do with people. But everyone's been great in it. But wait until you see what Canon has done. Johnny is someone we're all friends with, but is an avid student of comics art. You know, I've spoken to him, you know, untold hours about, you know, the classic, you know, Wally Wood and Chaikin and all these sort of people, and it really shows in his work. There's a real understanding of the medium by what he did, you know. And again, that's another thing, we workshopped stuff in it, me and him, around stuff, and we changed around a few things. But collaboratively, it was I found it really enriching to work with these people. Really, really fun. You can't call it fun because the subject matter is not fun, but you know, the process to it was fun. A lot of people take them with yours, Dan. I don't want to spoil yours because there's the silences speak a lot in yours, don't they? The moments of quiet in it.
That's all you, man. Like,
well, no, you carry off with the personality of the person, but there's a lot of
it's facial acting. There
really is. That's important. Yeah,
it was tricky because it's the one still shot of the character that I tried to kind of keep. He changes as he goes through the story. As he outpours what he's going through and what he's done, that he changes.
And but I can honestly say about this book, and obviously as it comes in, and Tony will give you links to where to get it, etc. And when it goes out into the world,
about 2 weeks, I reckon it should be ready.
Wow, brilliant!
I will say, for what we've said about this book, you have no idea. You're you're unprepared for this work, and so you have to see it for yourself. So look forward to that. I'm excited that we can talk about it and announce it now.
Yeah, it'll definitely, the digital copy will definitely be on sale in 2 weeks. I've got to make sure that the print's all right. Yeah, before I make sure it'll be. But fingers crossed, it comes back from the print. It's fine, and it'll be going on sale in 2 weeks. That's the plan. I'll let everyone know. I'll bore you with all it constantly.
I got to say, I'm doing that collaborative project, and I'm doing another one as well, and I really enjoy it. The collaborative work. Yeah. I enjoy it
because you work so much on your own. Do you think? Yeah, because you do a lot of stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, I really like people to kind of bounce off, and you can show them this and think, "What do we do this?" And they say yay or nay, and you can kind of you become better than the sum of your parts.
Yeah, You can try and experiment in some ways, can't you? You can really sort of push yourself in different ways to do different things. Where sometimes when you're working on your own stuff, dare I say it, sometimes you fall into your own comfort zones.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're working with a collaborator, it's like, oh, I'm going to try and draw this from a different angle. Do this differently to how I normally do it.
There's got to be a conjoining, of vision of what you're the vision for the end point. You got to see the back of the net, haven't you, with it, and to be able to both work to that point. Yeah. We've all worked with people who just are not getting what you're talking about. But everyone on this, and certainly with you, Dan, you got it immediately. Yeah,
I did. Thanks, man.
When I put that, one thing I was that was an experiment for me with the cover.
All right,
was merely in the design. I've written an anthology on the cover.
Okay,
and I did that within the mind of you letting people know exactly kind of. Hopefully, the visuals are telling you what the ride you're in for. But there's definitely a part of me that let people know what they're going to get from the outset.
Yeah, you added that, didn't you? Which is interesting. Yeah,
with a cover, because certainly sometimes you pick up some anthologies that you don't think are an anthology because the cover
has halfway through.
The cover's got nothing to do with anything. It doesn't say anything. You open it up and you're like, "This isn't the book. What was the cover for?" So it'd be interesting to see that side of it as well. It's fascinating, but
can you talk about the other thing you're working on, Dan? Or
no, not at the moment.
Okay,
because
the Jane McDonald sausage story.
Man, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
And with that, do we have any shout outs this week?
I've got a couple.
Go for it.
So coming to Kickstarter soon, I think it was announced yesterday, is Sentinels. They've got a comic called Bolt. They're publishing a one-off special called Bolt dedicated to Dave Evans, aka Bolt 01. So go and look for that on Kickstarter. Dave was obviously a friend of mine and someone I collaborated with. And we all met him at conventions and stuff, and we sadly lost him last year. So look for that. Also, go now. Find a Battle Panda on Kickstarter. You will not regret it. That's all I'm going to say. Battle Panda. You need that in your life. I'll make fine. Also, the new issue of No Brainer is now available as a sign-up page on Kickstarter, which will give you a notification when it goes live. So if you search for No Brainer 1 to 4 or Edison Neo, Edison, obviously, I've told him in the past, has the coolest name in the history of the world. Yeah. So look for Edison Neo on Kickstarter, and you can sign up to be notified when the page drops. But there you go. My ones.
That's going to be fantastic.
What have you got, Dan?
The Shadow of Innsmouth Complete Lovecraft Classic by Simon Burks. That's absolutely demolished its funding goal. Like literally fucking completely demolished it. So go check that out. We've also got I don't know if we're going to make this one. Damsel in Distress. It's made its funding goal. Smashed through that by Andrew Clemson. He also popped up on Two Geeks Talking with Kurt Sasso. So
when's your one out? Is that the video thing you're on?
Yes, it's the same one.
When's that out? Your one?
I don't know yet. He's not yet to be. I think he's and ahhing whether he's actually going to do it because it's awful. No.
You swear a lot. You say he'll be. Yeah.
What are we doing? Are you on the podcast? Oh. So Damsel in Distress is 1 to 5. That's going to be great. So go check that out. Nice. It's got 64 hours, so by the time this hits,
it'll be right. Still, you can get to it quickly. Yeah.
And another couple of ones, another Kickstarter to sign up for. The Final Curtain, a Spatchcock mystery by Gav Mitchell. Definitely sign up for this one. I've had a preview of this, and it's fucking brilliant.
Excellent.
A comedy about a retired carpet salesman turned private detective. And it's a murder mystery in the classic sort of like Murder, She Wrote sort of a thing. And anyone who knows me, I love a bit of Jessica Fletcher. Watch yourself, Tony.
Is it about Jessica Fletcher?
No.
Because I know he's done IP stuff for
yeah. And we also got Once Upon a Time in the West Country. Tripwire presents Bristol Comic Con, 3rd and 4th of September 2022. I can
Thinking of a name.
This is obviously local to me, but I'm going to try and get down to this. Tripwirecomiccons.com, but there's the likes of Howard Chaykin, Brian Stelfreeze, Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, Carlos Pacheco, Jock, our boy Martin Simmons is going to be there. So there's lots of people. So that's another one that I may turn up at to spend money, hopefully, on some old dirty paper.
Yeah. I quite fancy coming to that one.
Yeah.
I quite fancy coming down for that one. Yeah.
I think it's the first year of it, isn't it? So
yeah.
So hopefully more good comic conventions, always good.
Cool.
Right. So from comic events and all of that craziness to some good old fashioned comics. Who wants to recommend?
I got two again. So I do
top and tail.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. My first one, prepare yourselves. It's called Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. It's published by a company called Living the Line, and it's translated by Ryan Holmberg. And we're excited to see this land. Actually, I know we talked about it, and I sent it to you guys because it's from the company that published the now Eisner nominated Strange Death of Alex Raymond, and it's an absolutely amazing experience. This book before we go into it. Yuichi is a Tokyo-based mangaka. Like we talked about, actually having a life experience in other areas of art. He started as a painter at university, and he felt an emptiness and a dissatisfaction, is what he says in an interview I read with him, of just painting one single image. So he moved on to manga. If you go to Tokoin, TOKOIN.jp, there's a great interview with him on there. It's a genuinely strange experience, this book. It's not an easy one to explain in any ways, and it works on multiple levels. I think probably just the best thing to start with is the basic book. So it's on one of those notify me when it launches pages on Kickstarter at the moment, which you should sign up for. It's black and white. It's 235 pages. It's like opening a book, and he's very different. This creator, he's not. When we talk about manga, I know in your head suddenly you've got One Piece or something like that. Springing into your mind. It's nothing like that. It's like looking into an extremely multifaceted cosmic pinball machine that is run by little humanoid creatures on just a crazy level of beautiful drawing. It's got more energy in it than you'll see in pretty much any other book. The cover's a strange one, actually, because it kind of hints at what it's inside, but it doesn't really give it away. And it looks like it's a very heavily designed play on the word plaza, and it's almost like stacked. The letters are stacked on top of themselves, and the creator's name is crammed into the loop on the P, if you see what I mean. It's kind of how it is in a sort of electric blue. It makes it look like, I don't know how it looks like. It looks like a sign you might see at a casino, maybe, or something like that. And over that is an orange. And if you look beyond the orange, underneath it is this images of what you see inside. It has an extended title sequence, which each page spells out the word P, then the next page L, then next page A. But behind that, obviously, there's stuff going on as well. What is it about? This is a difficult one. It's like lifting the lid and looking inside the most complicated industrial machinery you've ever seen, but with that real sort of cosmic edge, as I said to it, right, real sort of LSD-inspired edge to it. Do you remember that comic, The Numbskulls?
I do, yeah.
Where they were inside someone's brain, weren't they? And one would work the eyeballs and all this sort of thing. It's kind of that times 1,000. It's So it's like a growing machine, and once you look inside it, there's these. They look like cloned images of humans or humanoids. Some have, some are more humanoid looking than others. Some might have big round heads or flames for heads, or one of them might look like a tiger. He plays with onomatopoeia as well across it, and the way that Ryan Holberg, who's translated it, has done it is I don't think you've got an alternative. You have to leave the Japanese lettering across the page. So it has a heavy design look to it as well. And underneath that, Holmberg has translated the sound of the letters, the Japanese letters, clever. There's one section where there's some little humanoid characters, and they look like little jockeys. They've got like, the way jockeys wear those sort of 2-colored jackets and stuff like that. And they're like crazily running with this huge key, which they slam into a lock. They turn the key, and out from inside this lock comes a sign that says Ghost Town, and all these sort of ghosts pour out. Some of them have got like sunglasses on. It's incredible. Honestly, it's like you just read and you can't stop almost. He also has an interest in the use of numerology, I think. There's long sequences which play off almost like numbers that are flipping on some kind of gaming machine, a bit like that sort of come and go. It's absolutely super layered. You know that theory about if you stare at a cloud long enough, you're going to see a shape in it. You're going to see, what's that Kate Bush line? I looked at that cloud and it was the shape of Ireland or something. It's a bit like that, isn't it? And the more you look at this, it works on the ability we have as manga and comic readers to interpret a story from the images. So you begin to sort of start interpreting what is going on in the page, and you kind of try and build a narrative as it's happening, but then he sort of throws literally sometimes a spanner in, and it changes to something else. And it's constantly got you playing catch up with it. There's one bit where a pair of vast, like massive human hands appear and start clapping. And it's almost as like it's some sort of weird, we've reached into the machine and we're applauding the little workmen who are working in there. And you just begin, do you remember those sort of big Hollywood musicals where, the Muppets play on it at the start of the intro, don't they? Where they all appear in little arches. It's almost, sometimes it's a bit like that. Somebody appears in tap dancing. It's almost like the mechanical version of this. He plays on religious iconography at one point. Some of the characters have wings on them, and wings appear from inside this sort of hollowed out shell of a thing. And makes you, and does you begin to again think, what is that? Why am I seeing that? He uses various. Scott McCloud talks about it in Understand Comics, about understanding the iconography of things, and how when we see the bat signal, we don't think, oh, that's the shape of the bat, therefore that's Batman. We just think that's Batman when we look at that. And he does that with some stuff. There's like, the shape of Mickey's ears in his head. If you just drew a line around it, sometimes that's almost a recognizable icon. And he plays with stuff like that and just throws it at you a little bit. And there's some military stuff that he does in there as well. There's no slowing down. And this is hundreds of pages, this book. I read it on the iPad on the preview thing they sent for me. And it's almost got this feel of being this sort of non-stop working machine, but also there's an element of the growing AI, the regenerating AI of it going into it as you look at it. You begin to wonder what it means. You genuinely, this is what plays on your mind. Is it some kind of religious thing? Is it a significant attempt at performing like the world society, but cramming it into little images? We're all working like beavers to try and create this and unlock this, and sort of thing. Is a religious element to it? Is it about the loss and the lack of individualism and individuality in the world? We're all becoming part of this big hive mind now. Is it this sort of parable of life? I will give you the warning: do not read this book in one go, because I got up early yesterday morning and read it, and I didn't look up from it for about an hour. But it's so frenetic, it's so crazy, it's so full of motion that it will almost give you vertigo, make your head swim. Are we all bigger, this part of this bigger machine? Is what it's saying to me as I read it. I genuinely think it's the book of the year for me so far.
Wow.
Absolutely. There's no fucking faces in it. There's barely any speech in it. But it's just such. It's an example of what we talked about all show. It's what we talk about all the time. It's how you push the medium, how we can use it in different ways. How this is, this is the medium. It couldn't be done anywhere else. Maybe animation could try with it, but it would make it a whole different beast. You engage with it in all different levels. And where is it going? All the way you think, where is this going? What is happening? Why is this story? Who is this? What is that? Why are they flying in? Why is there a big crowd of, a big load of bees, mechanical bees flying through the page, and they fly at you. They fly out the page. It's got that life to it. Watch out for it on Kickstarter. You can sign up for it now, as I say. You can find Living the Line, who's a publishing house, over on Twitter at @livingtheline_. Go and follow them. They're a really interesting company. They don't have too many followers on there, so I found quite interesting. Bearing in mind that the strange death of Alex Raymond was so well received, as a real real moment. Ryan Holberg is the translator who did. Do you remember Bat Kid? We talked about in Manga Month.
Yeah.
And he's done a book about translating and him finding rare manga that he translates. But Yokoyama Yuichi, and it's called Plaza. And I know there's some people on here. I think someone like Gareth Hopkins would love this book. I think somebody, there's an interpretive abstraction to it, not in the same way as him in any way, but I think, some of the people, Simon Russell, maybe something like that would find this as a real interesting art experiment, and there are a lot of other people, I'm sure. But yeah, go and find that. That's my first one.
Nice. Cool. How'd you follow that up, Dan? Sorry, I just throw you under the bus then.
Yeah. I got this was a laugh. I thought I heard other people talking about it, but I'll give it a go. And it's Dick Fight Island.
Oh yeah.
Raven Ike, obviously a manga. It comes under the Josei demographic, which is kind of like manga for ladies.
Right, that's interesting. Okay,
so it's kind of like inoffensive men,
hitting each other with their dicks.
Yeah, so Dick Fight Island is originally called the Eight Warriors, and it's set on the islands of Palu Yong Yunda. A fictional archipelago. I can never say that fucking word.
Archipelago.
That's the word. Made of 8 islands that was not discovered by the outside world to the end of the 20th century. The king of the archipelago, there you go, is decided in a contest every 4 years called the Great Worm Tournament, with each of the 8 clans that make up the people of the archipelago who send out their own champion. The champions face each other in a series of one-on-one fights, the winner being the first person to make the other orgasm. Thus, the champions go into their fights with armor that was designed for the manhood, growing larger and more elaborate by the year. However, in keeping with the local custom, the men wear clothes displaying their buttocks, this being considered a proud statement of their manliness. The story's central character, Hato, is a member of the Jewel tribe, who's been studying abroad for 4 years and returned to take part in the tournament. So, what made me laugh, I burst out laughing when I first did it. He turns up on the island. He's been studying in the West, and he jumps onto the island, and there's a couple of his old mates there, and he's wearing shirt, jeans with a waistcoat and a backpack. And one guy's like, "What's so cool about that? There's a women's clothes. He doesn't even show his ass." And all the men are just walking around with their chaps with their asses hang out, and it's kind of the manly thing to do to show your kind of muscular buttocks. And so they kind of so essentially they get into these fights, and the first ones to make the other chap orgasm. And I thought, this is fun. And then I got about so far into it, I go, actually, this is really not my cup of tea. It's just not for me. And the main character's special weapon, secret technique that he keeps on boasting about, is that he's learned how to massage the prostate gland to make his opponent go off. And they're like, oh my god,
go off,
unbelievable, because they've all got this armor to stop their dicks getting stimulated, as it were, and he can get to the unarmored buttocks, and they're all kind of the dick fight is thrown into disarray. But I didn't read too much more of it. I was sort of tapped myself on the leg. Yeah, that's enough of that. So I'll be popping that on the pound shop on the on the Slack, and you can have that off of me if you want.
But you bought it just purely on the title alone.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was going to be.
We thought it was funny.
I thought it was going to be funny, and it did have its moments. Where I was like, well, actually, this is just a pretty straight thing for people who like this kind of thing, and I'm not particularly bothered by this kind of thing. So
Yeah.
there you go. Sometimes you fuck up.
Yeah. That title is like really flipping huge, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big title. It's doing well. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
It does. It's like Snakes on the Plane. That
No one. I've watched that film and no one massaged any
No,
prostitutes.
but there are snakes on the plane with Dick Fight Island.
They do have a fight with their dicks.
They're fighting with dicks on islands. Yeah. So that's what they do.
Well, it's not false advertising then, is it?
No, that's what I mean. Like that's what Snakes on the Plane is. It's just. It is
completely wholesome and honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about Snakes on a Plane, though, it takes a long time to get to those snakes on the plane.
I've not seen that.
You don't need to.
Dick Fight Island, the dicks are fighting not even like a third of the way in.
Beautiful. Let's go on.
Oh, cool.
Right. So from that, I've never heard Dan Butcher say the word dicks so many times in my life.
It's kind of the juxtaposition there of Tony's sort of like eloquent sort of review of this book. He might be his book of the year, and I'd go to Dick Fight Island.
We call that a record scratch, didn't we? We went to Dick Fight Island. Yeah.
You're gonna swing it back the other way, Vince?
Swing that dick.
No, not really swing it back.
I was quoting Julius Caesar earlier. Now I'm talking about Dick Fight.
This show gives you everything, people. No, what I was going to talk about this week is a couple of comics that I picked up whilst at Lawless. I went to a small box of like vintage comics and picked up some issues of Eagle. These are from. There was 4 issues, or did I get 5? No, 4 issues. No, I think it's 5.
You sure?
Yeah. Let's count them now. Between the likes of between 1989 and 1990. So before some of you listeners were born, probably. But this is kind of why I want to speak to it, because I picked them up because they had some. I immediately had that collector moment in me. Was like, there's Storm Force in here. I haven't got these issues. I'm pretty sure I haven't got these issues. And trust me, that's a very, very rare moment for me to do things like that. And I was like, oh, look at these. They're in good condition. And we're talking like, how many pages were the old weekly books? Weren't that?
I'm not sure actually how much they were.
And this was like back in the day when comics were 32 pence. And they were weekly. There was no numbers on them. The numbers were the dates. But just picking up a couple, and like the one I've got in front of me now is like, fire is the enemy for John Storm. Next comes the firepower, and you got John Storm just riding a motorcycle through some flames, and there's some tanks waiting for him underneath. A great sort of cover image. And these were their sort of weekly comics that were on the shelves in the 80s, and sort of, for me, the heyday of the British comics when I was really into them. The barcode changes place willy-nilly week on week, which is hilarious. But just reading through these, and this is completely out of context. We talk about continuity and things like that, but I can pick up an issue like this just sight unseen, completely cold. I may not have an idea of what's happened in the story before, but I get so much enjoyment out of reading these now. And because they're fun, they're irreverent.
Charlie's War is in them, isn't it?
Charlie's War. That's the beauty about this sort of book as well. I mean, like this issue, it starts with Computer Warrior. Do you remember that title, Computer Warrior?
No.
Yeah. Do you remember it, Dan? Yeah, this was quite a big one for me because it was about Bobby Patterson, who it was at the time when video games were just starting to kick off properly. So naturally, the publications built into it. And so Bobby Patterson sort of gets transported into a video game, and he has to take place. But every week was like a proper video game that he was playing in, and those were the sort of adventures. He had to survive these tasks. And then he became the person who was handing out the tasks. And this is the thing. I remembered that I picked up this issue and opened it, and it's literally when readers could send in and win the chance to be in the comic strip.
Right.
So this one is there's what's his name? Leigh Woodall of King's Lynn. He has now been chosen.
Probably a listener.
Yep, he's been chosen to perform in Ghouls and Ghosts, which is an absolute fucking classic of a video game. Very difficult as well. And it's pretty much this strip is this reader who got a chance to be in the comic. The strip's now all about him in a video game.
That's amazing.
And it's just, and I laugh at this. Like next week, lay quackers. What the hell does that mean? But I need to read it next week. And so that really took me back because I remember being a kid. I never sent in to try and be part of this, but I remember seeing that and just being so excited. Wouldn't it be so cool to be part of a comic book? And this was like a weekly sort of comic book as well. I know they were working like 10 weeks in advance or things like that, but it was, and the art's beautiful for it as well. You got like Loner, this is at the time when Eagle was swallowing up everything. Eagle was,
you can get that in a trade, can't you, Loner?
Yes.
Did you get that one? Yeah.
I have not got that one yet. I've got
right.
What's the one I've got? I've got
Wildcat.
It wasn't Wildcat. It was some Turbo Jones. That's the one.
That's it.
Who was one of the Wildcat stories. But Wildcat was sort of swallowed up by Eagle, as was Battle and Stormforce. And this was at the point when the original sort of style of Dan Dare came back properly. Yes, you had Loner, who was like a badass. It was Doom Lord. That's a character that I didn't really care for when I was a kid, and I've really grown to love it as an adult.
Yeah.
It's strange that.
Is that Jose Ortiz on that?
That's one of the things I noticed about this. There's no names on the artwork, which was a shame. Because in Battle and Battle, there definitely was. There was names on the artwork. Toys of Doom. That's another one I remember. Do you remember that one, Dan?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that one, Tony?
No, I don't think. I didn't really read this book, to be fair.
Yeah, this one was.
I've read some since, but
kid who had he just had some action figures, but they came to life and they helped him do crimes and stuff.
Toy
like
soldiers type thing.
Yeah, it was toy soldiers.
Business always taking the piss out of it.
Yeah. But the little sort of designs of the action figures, this completely came back to me. Comics are like. It's like music or food. You'll completely forget about it and you'll see a panel and you are transported back to when you saw it. And I remember looking at them thinking, God, I remember sketching that. I remember just copying panels of that. You know, what this figure looked like. There's a Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future. There's Laughs on Parade. And, of course, as we mentioned, Charlie's War. Now, the beautiful thing about these weekly books that you don't pick on at the time. You don't think about it at the time. And certainly people don't really touch upon it now, I don't think, is you had these wonderful weekly, bubblegum adventures or, popcorn blockbuster sort of styles. And then Charlie's War is in it every week.
Yeah.
And that's the horrors of war. There's no other way to put it. But it's horrific, but there's a certain war comic energy to it at the same time. I know the way we look back at Charlie's War now and see it for the work it is, and obviously the brilliance of it. But I was just thinking, to have that in your weekly newsstand comic that kids were just picking up, and just they were doing artwork of things and sending it into the publication stuff. And something like Charlie's War sits proudly amongst Doom Lord or an advert for Ring Raiders. And there's a Rat Trap, which is another one, and of course Stormforce, just I absolutely love. Although it did I need to get back on my spreadsheet to figure out what issues I've got now. This has reignited a fire, but also, and it ties back into what we were talking about before, and it may not, the artwork on display and the penmanship and the craft of not just the artists, but these writers that were also just churning out this stuff to make these rollicking adventures. Not every day you get to use the word rollicking, and they're so fun. You take it for granted sometimes. Comics when you're a kid, you love them and you enjoy them, but when you see it from a different viewpoint, like when you get a little bit older, when your knowledge of the medium sort of moves on, I think some people make the mistake of moving on from the things that they loved when they were, some of these strips. They think, oh well, I love V for Vendetta. Oh, I used to read these silly strips. They're not. They're absolutely stunning. And I would say to anyone any creator out there, and certainly any creator who was probably not even alive when these books were published, you see these like long boxes, and you if you see these issues that have got Eagle, Battle, something, and these are like A4-ish sort of size.
They're in good nick, those ones you got as well.
Yeah. Some of them can be in very good nick. Some of them are like, it's all newsprint sort of paper, so some of them can get a bit tatty. And you can pick them up for nothing, for absolutely nothing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get these sort of ones. Just pick up one issue, and look through it, and look at that art, and look at what they've done. Like these were people that were week on week. There is not a standard 9-panel grid on these. There are panels, and certainly there's the use of white space, but frames are angled. There are circular panels. Things are exploding out of panels. There are people that have pushed the medium of comics a lot more than people talk about.
Yeah.
And they were just jobbing artists just doing it. But there are, these are some of these artists are people that haven't been talked about in these, these biographies or whatever, talking about the comics medium. They'll probably just get a couple of lines in some biography or something. But I look in it, and it's just amazing what these people have done. Yes, someone's doing an artwork for a strip about a bunch of toys that come to life and help a kid do some crimes.
So this is why I think people like Rich Sheaf and that are important,
yes,
because they're documenting these people who are going to be forgotten.
Yes,
I know everyone just wants to talk about Marvel movies or something.
Yeah.
These people are, at least as talented as those people.
Yes, and I certainly think to definitely Rich Sheaf, the Don.
We're done.
Is it Boys Adventure Comics? Is that what?
Yeah. Blogspot. Yeah.
Boys Adventure Comics .blogspot.co.uk or .com or wherever it is. Definitely, that is side by side.
You can look all the stuff you've mentioned there. You can look it up.
It's all on there.
I'll tell you now. Yeah.
Absolutely freaking goldmine, that site.
Yeah.
So go there, discover some stuff, or certainly when you're next at like an indie convention or whatever, and you see and these boxes are usually underneath the table. They're tucked away because no one wants them. That's a crime. That's a fucking comics crime. And certainly, I would say over the past 5 years, I've become more sort of like, oh my god, they've got a box of Eagle and Battle there. I get more excited about that than I do about a lot of other stuff, because I'm like,
also stuff you tend to see in charity shops as well. The British Weekly stuff, I find.
Yeah.
And
a lot of these titles as well. I know we talk about they're doing reprints of like Turbo Jones or Wildcat stuff. Some of this stuff will never get reprinted because either it's been lost or there's just not a hunger for it.
Yeah.
So please go back and discover it, because I know whether they may have been these are just jobs for some of these artists. They were doing work that, for me, far outstrips a lot of the stuff that is done now. So just next time you're at a comic convention, just be on the lookout for something like Battle, Eagle, one of those weekly old. Just get one copy. See what you think.
Yeah, see what it's like. Yeah.
See what you think. Even if you don't like the strips, you'll probably discover an artist that you will become an enormous fan of. So that is my recommendation for this week. Go old school.
Yeah, we're going old school this week. Yeah.
Tony.
So from a bit of conceptual continuity, mine relates a little bit to Rich Sheaf and to old school British comics and European and American. But it's not technically a comic, although it does have some comics content. I bought the art. It was called an art book by David Roach, who we've obviously enjoyed. We read his history of UK comics art, didn't we? A couple of years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
Remember I got you guys it, yeah. And this is his art book. Now it is an art book. There is, page by page examples of his art, but it's also a little bit of an autobiography, which seems to be the hotness at the moment, isn't it? Since Pat did his, we've had Des doing one. Obviously, Grant Morrison did one years ago. We've got we hear that Dave Gibbons has got one coming out this year, which should be great. I'm really looking forward to reading that. There's a lot of people doing it. Steve McManus did one. So this is his one, but him being an artist and being interested in the history of art, it's pages of auto-bio stuff about his influence and stuff, coupled with a lot of his art. It was only £20. I got mine signed. I did it. I think it was his partner at the table. She sort of got it signed for me and handed me to. It's interesting because he talks about, it starts off, it's done in little sections. So it starts off as he talks about his early days, and we get some pages from, I suppose he's best known for Judge Anderson, really, isn't he? I suppose, from people of our age. But I suppose he's also known for doing some Doctor Who comics and some Batman and some other stuff. But you get a couple of pages of Anderson Side Division in here, which are always good. You get a page about his influences, actually, and his growing up. And he talks a bit about TV action. He talks about some of the IP strips we saw back then, like Doctor Who, UFO. We saw some UFO stuff yesterday, didn't we? You know, some of those, you know, where they cut through a vehicle and you see the insides, color them with UFO strips, and a bit of Mission Impossible. You hear about his early love of artists, John M. Burns, who we saw art from yesterday, Jerry Haylock, Jose Ortiz, who obviously we're fans of. And it's littered with great names, you know, really, really interesting names. He quotes Paul Guillon, who is a French comics artist who's Lost in Time and The Survivor, amongst other stuff, as an influence, along with Mobius, who we know, Milo Manara, who we're fans of as well, Dino Battaglia, who is an Italian artist, who was, I think, was in a sort of artistic group with Hugo Pratt, amongst some other people, and Sergio Toppi. I'm an absolute fan of. We've seen those releases of the Sergio Toppi art books over the last few years, and are just amazingly gorgeous. And so I'd say it's sectioned off. The next section is 2000 AD. So we see he's done some Nemesis as well, David Roach as well. So there's some Judge Anderson stuff. Then there's a section on one of my favourite characters, Vampirella, and he talks about how he came to see the character, and you know the magazine, you know, the Warren magazines and stuff like that. Then there's a section on commissions. Someone asked David Roach to draw a dude, will you? You know what I mean? Seems to be all of his commissions are sexy ladies, but not that I'm objecting to that in any way. And then there's a section on illustrations, which he's done a lot of TV and movie franchise stuff. There's some Alien stuff in there, some X-Files stuff, obviously some Doctor Who stuff as well. And then it finishes up with some of his, I think they're life drawings, some quite beautiful single images. Yeah, he just calls it drawings, but I think it's kind of life drawings of stuff. It's some lovely stuff. It's a nice book, and it was only 20 quid. How often do you find an art book that's 20 quid these days? You know, and I got mine signed. Yeah. I think there was a hardback which was 35, but I'm not sure if he'd sold it out of that, because I didn't see any on the table. He didn't speak to me when he signed it, which always, I don't know, it always gives me the bit of a hump. But yeah, I'm glad I've got it, and I'm obviously a fan of the stuff he writes about comics about. Probably primarily, I think I really enjoy he did one on Spanish comics artists and stuff like that, and there's some really interesting stuff. And he's a real student of that stuff. Do you remember when Sarah did that Misty cover and she recreated it on a wall? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now he's sort of taking it on. She was telling me about this. He's sort of taking it on as a task to find out who drew that, because nobody knows. And everyone they keep suggesting, they kept sort of finding out, no, it wasn't him. He wasn't working there at the time. So he's really on a mission to find out who that is. So that's going to be interesting as well. Like I say, it's published by Richmond Press. So you can go to Richmond Press, or you can find David Roach. I recommend following David Roach on Facebook. He puts up a lot of really great art, you know. Pop quiz. Who did John M. Burns draw, Dan? I told you this one yesterday, Vince, didn't I?
Yeah, I think so.
You got me. Who?
George and Lynn.
Oh, man, really?
Yeah.
Classic.
Oh, one of our favourites. Yeah. So there's all that sort of thing in there, but along with some of his gorgeous drawings of ladies mostly, which looks great. So that's my second one. Artwork, David A. Roach, and it's got a picture of, I think, it's Vampirella on the cover. Yeah. Good.
There you go. Comics. All comics, great and small. This week to add to your wish list, or things to look out for on your ventures around the world. But whatever we spoke about this week, of course, get in touch with us if you want us to speak about more. Especially like if, like say, if you went to MCM or something like that, if you tabled there, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @TheAwesomePod. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/AwesomeComicsPodcast, or the community group, Awesome Comics Talk. We have a Slack channel, a Slack group that's full of amazing channels. If you want to be
really busy today, actually.
That,
yeah, loads on there.
If you want to be part of that community, then just get in touch with us and sign up there. Thank you for listening to us, whether it was on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. We're on a bunch of different sort of networks and stuff now. I've added a couple more to it, but I haven't actually added to this list. So it's going to be the standard ones, Apple Podcasts. If people listen to us, heard us on there, they can subscribe or leave a review. Just get the word out about what we do every week. That would probably be quite nice.
I was wondering if there's some tech person thinking, you know what, we need another podcast service. There you go. There's that one.
Yeah.
Let's just have another podcast service. Oh, yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Well, it all feeds through to places like Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, Podknife. What other networks are we on, Tony?
Fucking smooth.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're on Pod. Always keep a banana in your handbag. Helps with the bank when you give it a squeeze.
Sometimes you just got to leave it there. Where
give your banana a squeeze.
Where can give you? There you go. That's your bit of inspiration for the week, folks. Whatever you do in the world, no matter where you are, just make sure to keep that ripe fruit near you.
Give it a little squeeze.
Don't squeeze too hard, you bruise it.
Speaking of giving your banana a squeeze, don't forget, long eye on this, but the 9th of July, we're thinking of having a little meet-up in London. Don't know where yet, but
I'm fucking down for that.
The Mighty Cumber is over that day, so we're going to have a little drink. So we'll let you know. You can pop along.
But until then, thank you very much for listening. Where can people find us online, etc., Tony?
Neverhidanything.com and watch for neverhidanything.bigcartel.com for the new comic.
Nice. Dan?
You can find me on patreon.com/Vanguard Comic and Vanguard. We can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com. There's some real shit going to start going down the next couple of weeks. So get involved.
Get on it. And you can find me on social media at Jester Diablo. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us each and every week. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
You're all awesome. And we love you very much, don't we, Dan?
Excuse me. We
put some effort into it. Come on.
Sorry, man.
No. We've all had a long week, and that we record this at the end of the weekend, so we're all probably completely hanging right now. So just know that we do love you. Even Tony does.
No, I might pretend to.
Yeah, well, he's off to run himself a bath. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, read comics, make comics. Be nice to each other, and
be nasty to each other.
No.
Awesome.
The comics people have got to be nice to each other.
I don't mean nasty and horrible.
I'm fed up of people being horrible to each other, and recommend a comic to someone that might like it.
We're fed up of people being horrible to each other.
Oh, Nelson Mandela here.
Yeah. I'll shut you, bastard. I'm trying to be positive. Right. Have a brilliant week, everyone. From Dan, Tony, and myself. As always, what should our lovely listeners do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
There you go. They told you what you got to do, so go forth and do it. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.